Time for another sharpening video. Yes, I think so. All right, I'm going to use these pieces because it's tough stone, tough raw stone, but not too tough. Yeah, it's rare, but not that rare to find stone like this. What kind of sharpening am I going to do? The easy peasy type. Yeah. This one is the easy peasy type. Okay. In comparison to the others. But first I have to make the edge better so that it can be sharpened easily, because this is the easy peasy way to sharpen it. But it still requires that you have thinness around the edges and a good little biface, so called. Everyone's definition of good is a little bit different. Alright, so this piece is not too big, not too small. The material is not too difficult, but not too easy to knap. It's rare, but not too rare. So yeah, I think this is okay to show you. You might not be able to knap along with me because you don't have this material, but I think you can find something similar. Anyway, yeah, get out one of your almonds and knap along. Yeah. Why don't I just start with the sharpening? Just plain sharpening by itself. Just start with sharpening. Well, I don't want you to start just with sharpening. I want you to get tired from doing the bifacing and the thinning and then do the sharpening, because that's when you're going to be doing it in most cases. Yeah, I want you to learn to do it when you're tired, when you're starting to get worn out and frazzled from the bifacing. Yeah, that's the way to do it. You don't just go straight into sharpening when you got a piece of rock. And you got to get past this stage first. Unless you're just working only with flakes, and they're already sharp on the edges. You got to get past this stage first before you start to sharpen. Some of you that already know this stage, you can skip to the end. Yeah. Some of you that want to see the exact platforms or striking areas, see the exact angles and stuff. The angles are going to be different for you than they are for me, but they're basically the same. There's just little tweaks. It's all it's all that's going to make a difference. It's just little tweaks. You don't even know where to start. Yeah, if you're the type that doesn't even know where to start, but you can see what I'm doing and you still don't know where to start, you got some problems. Yeah. I'll try to be serious in this video. Yeah. You're going to start with pressure flaking, and you're going to use the same angles as you do with pressure flaking. You're just hitting it instead of using pressure. Okay? If you were going to take a pressure flake like that, that's the angle you would take the pressure flake at. Whatever that angle is, pretend this is a pressure flaker, and you set it up to where you're going to press it off and then back off, grab a mallet, and then hit it. That's the same angle, same forces, just you're using a mallet to hit it with. You're not using your arm or whatever to make a pressure flake. Okay? Just pretend you're going to pressure flake it downward like this. I know it's messed up because you're used to pressure flaking in this direction like that, but just pretend you flip it around like this and then hit it. You know, you're going to take a pressure flake. Okay? Turn it, try to keep it still. Turn it around. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to be like this. You can hit it like that. But you can also hit it like this, that way. You hit it like this, that way. It's not going to work as well. So you turn it like this to hit it that way. It's the same angle as far as the tool angle to the workpiece, the rock. Except it's not going to be... See, you hold it like this. So I'm going to pressure flake. Turn it around. And then mirror this angle and then strike it. Okay? And you can deliver a lot more force by striking than you can with the pressure flaker. That's the whole idea. And get your almond thin enough to put an edge on it. In the process of thinning down the almond shape or turtleback, you are going to sharpen this. It is going to get kind of sharp in some areas. And if you keep picking at it, it'll be sharp. But I'll show you how to sharpen with the pressure flaker. If you keep picking at it with the indirect percussion flaker, it will get sharp. But I'm going to show you how to do it with the pressure flaker. We'll get into the indirect percussion sharpening on a different video. So let me just get a few more of these lumps out. And yes, it does get harder and harder as it gets thinner and thinner. Not only because it's smaller, but because it wobbles when you hit it. You can't hold on to it very well. As it gets more narrow, it's hard to hold on to. Same with the pressure flaking. Alright. And I gotta hit it hard. Really hard. There it goes. Some of you are using stone that breaks when you do this. That you just broke the piece you're working on because you hit it really, really hard. Don't use stone like that. Nope. The solution is don't use that stone. But you want to because it's so beautiful. Well, figure out a better stone to practice on, not one that breaks so easy. Because the stone that breaks easy is not for beginners. It's for advanced knappers. When I recommend high quality stone to beginners, I don't mean high quality stone that breaks easy. I mean high quality stone that doesn't break so easy. Yeah. And you saying, well, if that exists, does Santa Claus also exist? I gotta stay serious. All right. And yeah, it does exist. If I say get some Georgetown, you'll end up with Georgetown that doesn't knap well. Yeah, because there is such a thing. Georgetown flint. There is such a thing as Georgetown flint that does not knap well. Needs to be heat treated, and then after that it needs to be treated like a little baby. Yeah, with lots of patience and pampering. You don't want that stuff. You're gonna have to look around a lot. And the best places to go to Knappings. That's why I put a Knapping list in the comment section of almost every one of my videos. You'll be able to find rock, even if it's just little pieces like this, that are excellent for beginners. It might not be pretty, but at least it doesn't break when you nap it. Yeah. It doesn't break unexpectedly and in stupid ways. And maybe it does. You just got to keep looking. Sometimes you'll get told. They'll tell you that, yeah, that stone's really good. And you'll take their word for it, which you should. But luck would have it that that's the only piece in the whole world that's like that. And you ended up getting it, and it does not nap well. Yeah, it's the only piece in the world that doesn't nap well of that type. Yeah, it's happened. I've seen it. I've given a piece of rock that I was napping to somebody new. And it just so happens I napped all the good parts off of it. I didn't know. I gave it to him. He started napping. He couldn't do anything with it. And so I said, okay, give it back. And I started napping. And it's a completely different stone that I was napping because I had knocked off all the good parts. Yeah, believe it or not. I gave him the yucky stuff. It didn't look yucky, but I napped off all the good stuff incidentally and then gave it to him like that. Anyway, that's why napping takes so long in many cases, because it's so unpredictable. Yeah. Anyways, we're almost there yet. I want you to get good at this stage first. In the perfect world, get good at this stage first before you worry about sharpening. Yeah, I know. You got some buddy of yours that say, can you sharpen this for me? It's a stone arrowhead I got at a gift shop. It's like made from an Indian. Made by an Indian. Yeah, Indian from India. And he wants you to sharpen it up. And it's that jasper that does not nap well. Yeah. No, say I'm sorry, but I'm brand new. I can't do it. Yeah. Don't tell him he just wasted his money. No. Unless he's a real good friend of yours, then yeah. You gotta tell him the truth. If he's a real good friend of yours, you gotta tell him the truth. Say, dude, that's a waste of money, man. Really? Yeah, it is really. It might look kind of nice, but we can't do anything with those. And then he's going to say, yeah, but, I saw a friend of mine use one for hunting. Yeah, well, get him to sharpen it. Haha. Anyways. Should I try to get that? I'm not going to try to get that step fracture out of there. This is not a step fracture removal video. I'll do it anyway. Oh, I'll try. I'm going to shoot one flake, or maybe two, just to get that out of there. If I can. That didn't do anything. Did that do it? Oh, you sneaky little sneak. There. All right. Yeah, we're there yet. Just a little wonky on the base. Can't have that. Okay. All right. Now we're less wonky. Okay, so you have a little biface. You get to this stage and you just can't sharpen it. I quite understand. I do understand. Yeah. All right. So here's what we do. We look for our very best supercalifragilistic. I can't be serious. I don't know why. Look for our best pressure flaker. It has to be the best. Yep. And then start pushing on one side. Almost like beginning the beveling. Imagine that. What we're doing is just making it regular. You're just going to pop short flakes off where you can see that it needs it. Where it's lumpy on the edge, or it's got something dipping downward. Take it off so it'll go the other way. Because what you're looking for is to snap the tip off, right? No. What you're looking for is to get used to regularizing it. It saves time. Just to be aware. Now, if you're trying to reproduce a real artifact, you'll have to look at the real artifact and see what they did, if you can figure it out. But for this particular exercise, just try to make it regularized. On some artifacts, in other words, you're not going to get a regularized edge. They just made it all wonky because they were pressed for time. They're making 15 of them in one day, so they can't be messing with perfection. It can't be too perfect because it took them a week instead of a day to make 15 points. Or they don't care. Maybe they'll take all day on one point and it's still all wonky, but they don't care. You never know. You don't know how they did it. So what I'm doing is just making the edge straighter. It just makes the whole process a little bit more organized, which is helpful for beginners. Just the act of knowing how to straighten it will help you be a better flint knapper. Yeah, it'll give you some practice on pressure flaking and getting to know the edge, and what you can push on and what you can't push on, and if you've abraded it enough or maybe too much, right, you're just going to make it more regular before we actually start the serious sharpening. You got to get through this stage also. As a beginner, you got to be able to do at least this a little bit, because it's the same kind of pressure flaking you need for notching and stuff like that. It's just the crude pressure flaking. It's not persnickety, although it can be. You can take your time on this, nothing wrong with that, but I don't recommend it. This is just preliminary stuff, and now I'm gonna, oops, hold on. After I get this, don't do the tips like I do. After I do this, I'm going to grind it one more time before we do the actual sharpening. Yeah, okay, so it's regular enough. And most beginners can get to this point. And it's sharp enough to do something. It can be mounted to an arrow like this, or an that'll dart, and it will work. It is sharp. Okay, it's picked enough to be sharp, but we're going to pick it a little bit more and make the edge a little bit thinner. You can get away with this and mount that to an arrow. Yeah, but we're going to go a little bit, one step further. Put a good grind on it so that we're able to push off some bigger flakes than we just did. We just did little bitty flakes. Yeah, for the final sharpening, in order to get a thinner edge, we need to shoot in longer flakes. And I recommend getting a file because it makes life so much easier. You can follow along with the hammerstone, but you're going to start falling behind because you're still grinding with the hammerstone and not getting much results. You can pause the video or whatever. All right. Get it to that point. Get the point to that point. Get the point? Yeah. All right, so then we take a sharper, our most bestest sharper pressure flaker. We were using this one. This is our second most bestest. Now we use this one. And I work toward myself. Probably you can see that before. I start with the delicate areas first. So this is going to get worn down. The pressure flaker is going to get worn down. So you start with the delicate ones first. So it'll wear itself down on the delicate areas, and this will get fatter up here, but that's okay. It's okay to pressure flake with the fatter part on the lower parts of the workpiece. It's okay that when this gets worn down, the pressure flaker gets worn down. It's okay on the fatter parts of the point. Okay, so I just start. I always work toward myself. I start somewhere near the tip and just push on the edge. See, this time we're a little bit closer to the edge, but we're on the grind, the upper part or the upper half of the ground area. And when I was grinding, it's not just flat like this, it's a little bit of a rounding. It's a rounding technique. Okay? So when you put your pressure flaker on it, you're on the closest side of the rounded part. You're not directly on the edge like this. You're on the rounded side on this side. You're not directly on the edge. You're a little bit to the side. Okay? All right. You'll get used to it. And then, you'll make a little mistake like I just did. Then you'll press harder and you'll go, okay, that's the way it's supposed to go. And you just keep putting flakes in. Keep in mind that the pressure varies. It's not always the same. Depends on how much of an obstacle you have, how delicate the tip is, or you're getting near the tip. You don't put nearly as much pressure. The closer you get to the tip, the pressure diminishes. All right, and then on the other side, it's just the opposite. You start out with a little bitty pressure and then increase it as it goes down on the other side. Always working toward yourself. That's the easiest way to remember. Okay? And as each one, you increase the pressure when you go in this way, and on this way, you decrease the pressure on the way down. Okay? Now, if you got good glasses on, you can see. I don't need to regrind this. You can look and see if there's dull spots still remaining, and you can push on those in between the other flakes. And get it really sharp. That's really sharp. Okay, and that's thinner than this down here. All right, we'll do the other side. Look for dull spots. Push on them without regrinding. And that's very sharp. Okay, so that's all there is to it really on the picking, except for the last step of knocking off the protrusions is sticking out really bad. You can just pop those downward. Yeah. You're just popping them downward to get rid of the big protrusions that stick out. You don't need to get rid of those if you don't want to. But I do just to make it look more regular for the video. Alright, so what's next? Sometimes I like to... You should do this. And it's not just for you to like or not to like. regrind this before you proceed to the next stage, because the next stage is to knap the fatter part of the point. So you start with the, I start this way and work down usually. You know, instead of starting there, I think I usually start with the tip up, but it doesn't matter where you start. Okay. You just got to keep in mind that it gets harder as you go this way in most cases. If you're working from the tip to the base, come on, it's slipping. This is a lot more pressure than we were using up there. Okay, this is a lot more pressure. And I'm spacing the flakes a little bit further apart. I'm going to come back and pick at that in between later. Okay, this is still a lot of pressure. It took me a long time to get used to it, and by the time I finally got used to it, my shoulder had an impingement, which means my muscles developed too strong in one direction, and I got some shoulder pain, which means that I had rearranged the skeletal configuration, rearranged my bones in my shoulder by too much pressure flaking. So I have to do exercises now to realign my shoulder blade and my shoulder joint. Yeah, it's working. As long as I keep up the other exercises in addition to the pressure flaking, my shoulder feels better. Okay. Just a heads up, because I didn't realize how important it was to make sure your shoulder stays healthy. Okay. And now the same thing. You're going to look for dull spots on the other side. You can do this thing where you scratch it and then push off a flake. Hopefully the material you're working with will let you do that. And if you need a magnifying glass or a microscope or something to see the dull spots, that's fine. You can do that. I just kind of guess, and if it doesn't feel dull, if it starts to crackle and snap, crackle, and pop, I just do this. I just rub the edge and then push a flake off. It doesn't always work, but it's better than trying to get a magnifying glass out. I don't know how you do it. Oh yeah, with the fancy headset that has the magnifying lenses. Yeah. So you just find the dull spots and push. And you're slightly on the other surface. You know, you're slightly still on the surface. Once in a while it'll feel like you're exactly right in the middle on the edge. And that's fine as long as you have plenty of material. Otherwise, it's just going to crush it. Yeah. Sometimes it does feel like you're right on the edge. And that's what usually happens. You get a little step fracture. You got to find a way to push or to seat the tool before you push. Come on. Don't do like that. I'm showing you what happens when you don't have a good seat. It just kind of crushes, and then you gotta try to build a stronger edge by filing it down. Yeah. I thought I'd be able to just power through it, but no. Sometimes you can power through even if it's crushing. But you saw what happened. It doesn't always work. And same thing is happening again. I'm trying to get away from abrading a lot. See, that's what happens when it doesn't seat well. It'll just crush, but it's very sharp. All right, so we're done with that. We just go back and pick off the stuff that's sticking out. Again, you don't have to. I just like to because it looks neater. Neater and sweeter. Neater looks sweeter, I think. But you can leave it. And they did leave that really jaggedy back in the day sometimes. Alright, so that's it for the picking sharpening. Alright, I don't want these videos to be way too long, so that's it. Now, the sharpening part's done. I just want to do one more thing on this. I want to get rid of that wonkiness and take a flake off here. And yeah, I'm going to get it on video. Now you can go back and look and see if there's still dull spots on the edge. Sometimes you can tell that's not one, but sometimes you can tell it looks like it's still abraded. Yeah, the only spot that's dull is like right here on the bottom. I think I got almost every dull spot and lumpy spot. And see how much thinner. It's not a whole lot thinner on the edge, but it does make a difference. It is a lot sharper than it was a little while ago. Yeah, okay. Where is my... Maybe I should use this one. Yeah, okay. This is the smaller diameter 5/16 copper rod. I'm going to do some thinning flakes down here. As long as it cooperates. It didn't cooperate that well. I will get that thin down. Oh yes. From there, I gotta sacrifice my beautifully sharpened edge. I can run a flake that way. See, because I have an avenue right there. Convexity and the ridge together. You need at least, minimum of a convexity or a ridge. If you have both, it's better. Did it do it? It didn't do it, but I still have one more chance. Oh, I still didn't do it. Uh-oh. It's going to become a challenge video. It's a challenge video still. I mean, we still are not there yet. Yeah, okay. Better. Now let's resharpen it. I already ground it down, remember? Because I hit it with the percussion flaker. I ground it down for the percussion. And now I just go back and hit the spots I missed. And some of the spots that I didn't miss, but they need to be thinned down. Yeah. There's a bunch of dull areas on this side. From the abrading. And I go back and hit the spots that have the dull edge and they need to be thinned. Sometimes it needs to be thin, but there's no dull edge to push on, so you have to create another dull edge by more grinding. And go through the same procedure. If you grind it, you got to flip it over and look for the dull spots and pick off some stuff from the other side. So that's the picking method of sharpening. Okay, I call it the picking because that's all you're doing is pick, pick, pick. So it is now sharper and thinner, and it works better. Okay. In the beginning I showed you that, or near the beginning, I showed you how it looks. You can just stop at that point with minimal edge work, but it doesn't work as well as this. And yeah, I am going to do tests eventually to show you how well it works. Yeah. And thin points, they slice a lot better. They might not penetrate better, but they slice. So it's helpful if you're trying to slice through an internal organ that needs to be cut open, like the heart. With the lungs, it just needs to be punctured, but with the heart as an internal organ, you need to get some slicing in there. All right. To speed up the process of dispatching the animal. Okay. Yeah, I just took off that thick spot. So now I got to go back and resharpen. And I use this technique on like 90% of my videos. Easy peasy. Even though there's stiff fracture. Oh well. You know how it goes. You know the routine. I would dull this side and hit some more flakes into there. But yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know. How long does it take to learn to do it? Gosh, I'm still learning, and I've done it for more than 10 years now. So I've been doing it for 13 years, almost 14 years. Still learning stuff. But the minimum, it'll take 3 years, I think. 3 years to be able to get edges that are nice and sharp. You know, starting from the beginning with no knapping experience at all. With a knapping experience, it shouldn't take you more than a few weeks to get good at sharpening. Alrighty. That's it.